Last year I had conducted 6 to 7 lectures, actually during the same time between Muharram and between Ramadan and Muharram, where we looked at the history of the Imams during their own time and the political, situations and how each Imam basically dealt with the issue according to their own circumstances. There's a problem I think people have in general that they just take one stand and then think that this is applied in every situation and every era in every place in the world. Whereas, circumstances, socio-political circumstances are very important, and this is where we have learned the examples. If you look at, for example, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali bin Abi Talib, during the time of the three Khulafa, we saw in detail in those lectures, those who came, that when the Futuhat happened, the conquest, where the Muslims basically went and they conquered Iraq and then Iran and then Sham and then Egypt. During that time, Amir al-Mu'mineen did not participate in those Futuhat, even though he was invited by the Khulafa, whether it's Abu Bakr or Umar or Uthman. Yet Amir al-Mu'mineen did not refrain from giving advice whenever they will come to him and ask for guidance. Not only that, some of the prominent companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen participated in those futuhat of the Khulafa. And of course, it's assumed that it was done with the approval of Imam Ali salam. Yet his sons did not participate. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain salam did not go into this futuhat, although there are some very weak narrations found in the Sunni sources. And so, it doesn't mean that Amir al-Mu'mineen was silent. He spoke about the deprivation of his own right whenever the situation was there. But this is where you have to realize that, the general situation is kept into mind when you react to a situation. Look at Imam Hassan alayhi salam, ended up making the, you might call it a truce, or you might call it, peace treaty with Muawiyah. Then you look at Imam Hussain alayhi salam. The problem is that we know Hussain only in the context of Karbala. We don't realize that his imamate started, this was the 10th year of his imamate. So the first 9 years he was during the time of the reign of Muawiyah. And you will see that there was a difference. There was a passive opposition to Muawiyah by Imam Hussain alayhi salam. But when Yazid comes to power, Imam strategy changes. And it becomes an active opposition. So why two different things? Same Imam. He is looking at the circumstances, and this is where we have to understand. Then you look at the policy of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, or even when you come to Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam. Let me go to actually the example of during the era of Sadiqain, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir and Imam Jaffari al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. You have the political circumstances the same. But you will see that individuals from the family of the Ahlul Bayt, reacted to those situations differently. You have, for example, Zayd al-Shahid, Zayd, son of Imam Zain al-Abidin. he started his uprising in the name of Al-Amr bil-Ma'ruf and Al-Nahy al-Munkar. That was his, banner, that was his purpose. And when he started his uprising, he actually discussed it with his brother Imam Muhammad al-Baqir. So Imam Baqir is there, he is the Imam. And Zayd is not the Imam. He is actually the follower of the Imam. And he talked to his brother, and Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, told him that, if this is what you want to do, it's fine. But he predicted that you will be killed, you will become shaheed. And he was killed when he was just 42 years old. Now, if you look at the circumstances when he's killed, it's important to look at it. This is now the days of Imam Jaffari alayhi salam. We have a narration from the 7th Imam, quoting his father, Imam Jaffar as-Sadiq, who says, "May Allah have mercy on my uncle Zayd. Verily he called for someone who is acceptable to Ali Muhammad." So he was not fighting for himself. He was asking, talking about Ar-Ridha min Ali Muhammad, somebody who is recognized by the Ali Muhammad. If he had succeeded, he would have fulfilled his claim. He asked my advice. This is Imam Jaffar as-Sadiq saying. He asked my advice about his uprising, and I said, "Oh uncle, if you want to be a martyr who is crucified in Qunasa, this is the place in Iraq, around Kufa, then it is up to you." And after the shahadat of Zayd al-Shaheed, Imam Jaffar as-Sadiq gave 1,000 dinar to one of his companions by the name of Abdurrahman bin Ziyaba to go and distribute among the families of the martyrs who were killed with Zayd. And this is where we see, and then the 6th Imam again says, "Do not say that Zayd rebelled, because he was a scholar and a truthful person. He did not call you towards himself, rather he called you to the one pleased by Ali Muhammad. If he had succeeded, he would have fulfilled his call for his call for him, for the Ali Muhammad Rizvi." And Zayd Shaheed himself used to say, "In every era there is a person from us Ahlul Bayt regarding whom Allah will question his creatures. The hujjat of our time is my nephew Jaffar bin Muhammad." So he himself knew very clearly who is the Imam of the time. Whoever follows him will not be misguided, and whoever opposes him will not be guided. And so this is where we see that, when you look at the example of Zayd al-Shaheed and Imam Jaffar as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, same era, same political circumstances, Zayd took one approach and Imam Jaffar as-Sadiq alayhi salam took another approach. And this is where we to realize that, the socio-political circumstances will determine what an individual does in that situation. There's no one solution for all the, problems or all eras. This we have to understand properly. And so, and this goes on, it's, inshallah, if we get time, we will even look at the history of the Shia movements and governments during the centuries, how, the ulama would guide or react to situations. Inshallah, for some other time. But here I would like to say, we all look at the circumstances. We all feel the pain of our fellow Shias, as I mentioned in the Friday khutbah. But how do we react to it? It depends on your local circumstances. A person sitting in Tehran and Qom has a different responsibility from somebody who is sitting in Kufa and Najaf, for example, or somebody who is there in Karachi or Lucknow, compared to people who are in the West. You have to look at the circumstances and then react to it in that way. Because sometimes I hear, accusation against our organization that, they are only worried about their charitable status. No, we do what we can within the bounds of the law, because we are looking at the bigger, picture. And when you have a responsibility, the burden is more heavier. All those objections come from those people who are not responsible for anything. They only know how to speak. Okay, and that's the reality that people don't realize. And so we have to look at the socio-political circumstances. You cannot say, Na'uzu billah, Zayd al-Shaheed was a revolutionary and a very, right person, whereas Imam Jaffari alayhi salam was passive. No. You can look at the lives of the Imams and learn that socio-political circumstances from one era to another would be different, one area from another would be different. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the wisdom and the hikmah to understand our own situations and take the decisions in the right way. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار برحمتك يا رب.